welcome to Excel Basics Plus. In today's session, we're going to have a quick review of the SUMIF function, and then we're actually going to expand that to the SUMIFS function. So you'll recall with the SUMIF, we are looking to add up a bunch of values based on a individual criteria. So in the SUMIF formula, in this particular case, we're looking for how many computers, comp-005, which is the stock ID, how many computers have been sold and what is, and just add up the total value of the price column. So if we look at this easily and we say equals SUMIF, open bracket, firstly we want to have a look at the range where we want to look up comp-005. So the criteria one is in the stock ID column. So we're going to highlight that stock ID column. We're going to hit F4 to lock that range. You see the marching ants there, locking that range. And that is the range that we're going to be looking up that comp-005 in. Comma. What is the criteria that we're trying to look up? Well, it's comp-005. So two ways you can do this. Parentheses, type in comp-005, close parentheses. Or if you've already got it listed here, click on that cell. That is exactly what it's going to look for. What is in cell H5? Now, as an example, if you then change that later on down the track to comp-006, you know it will then go into the stock ID range that you've selected and then only look up comp-006. So having it formula based is always a good option rather than hard coding unless you require just that criteria in your formula. So we're looking up the range. We've set what the criteria is. We hit comma, and now we're looking at the sum range. What are we going to add up if we find comp-005? Well, it's the price column. So once again, we highlight that price column, and you don't need to highlight the header. I like to do it because I can see exactly what I'm highlighting and make sure that, yes, I've got the correct column. Once again, hit F4, lock that range in place for the formula, and hit the close bracket and press enter. All right, so the SUMIF, we've now said, go and look in the stock ID column, look up all of the comp-005 stock IDs, and add up the price from this column, column F, and give me the total of that value. So what we can see is comp-005, there's one there going to South Australia. There's one here going to Queensland, and there's no others. 1150 plus 1150 is 2300. Now, as I said, if we change the criteria here, let's change that to comp-006, it's instantly said, hey, go into the stock ID, look up comp-006. We've found one down here for $1,200 going to South Australia. There is only one. There are no other comp-006s, which means that 1200 marries up to that 1200. Now, if this list was 200 entries long, for instance, this would instantly give you a result. You can change the criteria as often as you want. So 007 is the two laptops here, Victoria, Australian Capital Territory, $1,450 each, totals $2,900. So that's why it is always beneficial to make sure that in the formula you have a criteria that you can change. Now, the SUMIFs. We've worked on SUMIF before. Let's have a look at the SUMIFs, which means you can have multiple criteria. Now, I'm only working with two criteria today. You can have as many criteria as you want, as long as you can search it in your data set. So in the SUMIFS function, we're going to be looking up criteria one, which is that stock ID again, and we're going to be looking up which state that the computer has to be delivered to. So once again, simple formula, equals SUMIFS, open bracket. So the first piece is that we want to have a look at what is the sum range. What do we want to total as the result? Well, once again, it's the price column. You see the marching ants, hit the F4 key to make sure you lock in that range. Now this is different to the SUMIF formula because we actually had the sum range at the end of the formula, whereas the SUMIFS we have at the beginning of the formula. And part of the reason for that is because the very next part of the formula is literally putting in a criteria range, comma, criteria. Then, comma, criteria range, comma, criteria. So it's making sure that, okay, what are we going to add up? And now tell me all the criteria that you want me to check on before I make that sum of the price. So we've got our sum range in place, F4 to F20 for all of the price. Comma. Now, criteria range 1. What's the first thing that we want to look up? We want to look up the stock ID. So, once again, click and drag down. Your marching ants are there. Click F4. We are saying criteria range 1 will be found in this column, C4 to C20. Comma. What is that criteria that we want to look up? Well, it's cell H6, which is comp 005. Now, once again, you could hard code that detail into your formula, parentheses, COMP-005, parentheses, and comma to go to the next part of the formula. So up to you how you do it. So in this case, we're also now looking at a second criteria. We want to see which state it's being delivered to, and in this case, we're looking at suggesting Queensland is the state that we want to look up. So we need to have a look at the range of cells that would contain that second criteria, which is, of course, the state range. So once again, we select the state range cells there and hit F4 to lock in that group of cells. And then we go to what is the criteria? Well, once again, you can enter it in if you like, parentheses, Queensland, parentheses, or if you've actually got it listed here, just click on that cell, I6. We've now completed telling Excel what the criteria is and what we want to be added up. We can now close that formula, close bracket, and press enter. All right, now what it's returned is $1,150. So if we look at the Comp 5 computers, we've got one there, and we've got one there. So straight away we can see that we've said Comp 005 and we've said Queensland. Well, there's Queensland, there's Comp 005, $1,150, $1,150. Now, if we said change this one to Comp 007, there are none. But that just means none going to Queensland, whereas here we have $2,900 worth in Comp 007. Now we can see the 007 ones here, and what we can see is one's going to Victoria, one to Australian Capital Territory. So if we change the criteria here to Victoria, instantly we can see that out of the $2,900 worth of Comp 007 computers, 1,450 or half, i.e. one of two, is actually going to Victoria. So as you can see, it is a powerful formula that will give you a lot of leverage into selecting certain criteria so that you can get a sum result from your data. The more data you have, the more criteria obviously you can use. So they are simple formulas to use. Literally just keep practicing. That's all you've got to do. Keep using all these formulas every day so that you remember them and you can use them. And remember that you can always nest these formulas in other formulas. Remember we talked about the if error function in previous videos. So you can wrap the if error formula around SUMIFS or even the SUMIF function. That can then return you a result if there is a false response to your actual SUMIFS formula. So thanks for watching and look out for the next video.